I can do this. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Melanie.
How are you?
I'm all right. You?
Good.
Nice to see you. It's been so long since I worked with everyone.
I know. Oh my gosh, time has flown.
Yeah, it was the right move, especially because we didn't know COVID was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long ago did you leave? I can't even.
I was saying I was going to take a year off, right? And it's been more than 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Tracy Dyke Redmond was like, I've never known someone that's taken a year off to come back full
and then it's gonna come back. Yeah.
Well, I had to keep myself busy somehow, so I'm with MassEnergize. Yeah.
Is it so? Do you work for MassEnergize, or
so I've been volunteering, and actually I am taking on just a part-time interim position for them until the summer. Yeah, so great. The part-time is great.
Yeah, I was doing part-time. I was working Monday through Thursdays after I came back from maternity leave with my first daughter.
Yeah.
And it was fine. I mean, it was definitely a little bit like stressful because I didn't have less work, you know, but I didn't work more than my 32 hours because then it's not worth it because I'm being paid less.
Right.
But then once COVID hit and I was home, my kids were home, I was like, I'm just going to go back to work full time. So
yeah,
full time. It's better for me.
Yeah. Oh, good.
In the job. It's hard to do this job.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Mandy. So Melanie, Mandy, we're just getting, our meeting starts at 7:15 and we're going to do some organizing till about then. If you could rejoin, that'd be great. Okay. Thanks. Hi, Maureen. Melanie, can I have your, I'm going to ask each of you this. What is your title now, or how would you like me to introduce you?
Sure. I'm a lead analyst. I mean, in the customer energy management group at National Grid. They change our name all the time, so I can't remember what it is. But
okay, that works.
Katelyn just texted me, her computer froze.
Oh no, she's got time. That's why we're like, you know, we get on at 7 and then folks will join us at 7:15.
Yep.
So Maureen, how would you like me to introduce you tonight?
So I am the program manager for small business statewide for Eversource.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's perfect. Ellen is joining us.
And I know somebody had asked for like a handout. I think it could have been Ellen. Yeah. And I didn't get, things are just so crazy. I didn't get to putting something together, but we have all the rebate amounts in the slide deck, which we can share after.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I think what you know, first of all, nice to meet you, Melanie.
Nice to meet you too.
And thanks very much for doing this. I think I'm looking to figure out how to take this to action, Melanie. So all of our communities are promoting all of these actions, and we have written them all up on what they're doing. And in there, we, you know, say there are incentives. So I think what we as MassEnergize might do is create a one-pager saying, here are the current incentive rates, and post it, and then they can just like link to that. So I just didn't want to, if you already had something like that, I didn't want to, you know, make extra work for us.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's sort of in the slide deck, so we can maybe have our intern, and unless there, you know, maybe you have one slide that I think in particular it's the heat pump stuff that is of greatest interest.
Yeah, and I like that would be. It's very clear. It's in a table on its own slide.
Great.
But there's some like caveats. You know, there's some like nuances to the heat pump offer that I'll talk about today. That people should really pay attention to. And it's all like we're starting to build out like our heat pump landing page. So there's a lot of great information. And I'll talk about all that too.
Great.
Yeah, and I think the places where you can, Melanie, point out, you know, here are areas that that you can really help with to our organizers. Here's where you can act, and here's where you need to be aware there might be refinements or, subtleties that you need to check in with vendors, et cetera.
Mhm. Okay.
Hi, Katelyn. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Katelyn, I've been asking folks, how would you like me to introduce you tonight?
Yes, I'm the manager for residential implementation at Eversource for Mass.
All right. Thank you. I know program names, migrate and such.
Amy, the agenda link, do you mind for me?
Yep.
I looked where I thought I would be and I didn't see it. Thank you.
All right. So, Melanie, Maureen, Katelyn, we are, our communities will start joining us in about 4 or 5 minutes, and we'll get started around 7:16. Do we want to test out who has the slide deck? Just make sure that that is able to be presented, and then you can go and check email or whatever till we're getting going.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sharing the slide deck, so let me see. Share. And then if I go to the full screen, oh, the slide. Oh, okay. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
That's very green.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, it's very green. It's like our new Mass Save template. And it's also very large, so it's very hard to send via email. I've learned this week. So.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. All right. So
Embedded graphics that are making it big.
yeah, I'm like, we got to do something about that.
Yeah, maybe have a version that's emailable,
Yeah.
Great. So Amy, you went through with them the agenda on how this is going to work with breakout.
I was going to do this next. So we'll get started. Do a few introductions with communities. We asked them, as Lynn is nicely modeling here, to put their organizations in with their name or their community, so that's a little bit of a help for everyone. JCAN is Jewish Climate Action Network. And so that'll give you all a little sense of who's here. So we'll do introductions, welcome, and a few minutes of updates from MassEnergize, and then we'll kick it off with you between 7:20 and 7:25. And you just let me know if you want to be interrupted with questions, or you'd prefer to have people hold their questions to the end.
Okay.
Or
Katelyn, what do you think?
I don't mind being asked throughout,
Yeah.
or if they want to put it in the chat.
okay.
I mean, we have different sections, so maybe we can stop at the end of each section. So it, like, things will be fresh in people's mind and they can like ask.
Yeah, that's great. And so we'll have around 40 minutes. Go ahead, Ellen.
I think given that there are 3 of you, and thank you again for doing that, I think we can also say to people, as questions come up, you can put them in the chat, and that way, Katelyn and Maureen can also be monitoring that. If it's a super easy one, you could just hit a reply in the chat. We do try to vocalize those. So maybe Amy, that would, given that they have a bunch of people who can, be monitoring that. We usually monitor that chat to sort of address questions, but I'm thinking, and Amy and I can do that, but given that you're pretty well staffed here, you guys might, the 2 who are not presenting, or whoever's not presenting can look at that and then tee up those questions. Would be great. I know Steve, who's joined us from our team and the Heat Smart Alliance, definitely has some questions on sort of on the ground, how some incentives are actually working. I know you guys are in early days on the new 3-year plan, so we certainly recognize it's a work in progress. But yeah, so why don't we take chat, Amy? I like that idea of pausing after each section. Great, I'll let you keep walking through the agenda, Amy.
Okay. And so we'll have the presentations, the Q&A with all of you. And then our intent is really to take this to a conversation with the communities in some breakout rooms. And at that point, you are free to stay or go for the evening. And if we have further detailed questions, programmatic questions, I would compile them and send them back to you. But hopefully more you can give us suggestions along the way, what communities really can do to help out and examples. And we'll spur some action and conversation around that.
And I think one thing that we can do with you guys, so the question that we'll do in breakout rooms is, how do you want to use this information? How will you, this is not a verb, but actionalize it? I think we have a lot of people working on implementing townwide climate action plans. There are obviously big decarbonization initiatives under that, and this is sort of a handy, here's something new to make people aware of. So I think Gabe, who's our intern there, is going to take some good notes. So we also, I'm happy, I think, to feedback, Amy, I think to them, some of the practical suggestions people are coming up with and what they want to do. I think that'd be useful for you guys to get a glimpse at if that's beneficial to you also.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheryl.
All right. So now we'll just chill for around 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think we,
Oh, Kat?
Amy, Kat, yeah.
Yeah, I think Gabe is running the tech, so we're good on tech. Just want to check that. I can jump in if need be.
I think question is like how many rooms we're going to do, Kat. Let's look at we look at the numbers, maybe put like, what do you think, 4 in a room, Kat?
More.
More? All right, so we can do 6 in each room?
I saw some breakout rooms being created and they each had a topic. Is that what did I see that correctly, Gabe?
That should not be the case this time.
Oh, interesting.
This should just be random, and we're just going to discuss the mass save incentives and how people, what were they confused by, and sort of how do they want to action a lot. This is not a verb. What action do they want to take with this new set of incentives? How are they thinking of rolling things out? And I think, Amy, we have, for breakouts, we have, 25 minutes, also a chance for people to share anything else. And then I think we'll reconvene and sort of hear any, important things that people want to do from that, don't you think, Amy, from those breakouts? And then
Yeah. There is one other thing, a request from a community to share an event. Do we want to do that up front or put it, I think maybe towards the end?
an event that they want to share. I think
Did
we could do it at the, I don't care. Kat, what do you think?
I have no preference.
I mean, we're doing a bunch of announcements at the beginning. It's sometimes people are joining a few minutes late. It allows that to happen. So I also put Gabe up on the agenda to do a minute on what we're doing on the social media campaign, Amy.
Okay.
I added that to the agenda. I do want to say just something as a thank you. I'll do a quick thank you on a bunch of people agreed to co-sponsor the EV and the gas induction events we're hosting at Energize Wayland. So I think that was productive to ask people if they want to join events. So hopefully that'll be a trend.
That's what Acton wanted to put up. The Acton version of that.
Oh, okay, sure. They want to share screen or something?
They have a flyer. Yeah, they were hoping to
Sure, why don't
project.
we let them do that? Yeah, that's fine. And also
Okay.
would give Maureen and Melanie and Katelyn a sense, a little bit of a feel for the group as stuff like that.
Mhm.
Hopefully we'll get more.
How many people do you anticipate this evening?
So we typically have between 20 and 30. I responded to Katelyn. You guys unfortunately caught this meeting is in the middle of our progress for our CRM. So our RSVP system was less than optimal this time. Naturally, the time when we have.
I mean, we could have a smaller number because a bunch of the communities are MLP communities that found this less valuable to them.
Okay.
So we could be more in that 15, but hopefully we'll get a nice mixture of at least 6 or 7 communities. Hey, Michael, a reminder to rename yourself so that we know that you're from Sherborne.
Got it.
And same with Hilly, to remind yourself to rename yourself so we know you're from Medfield. And Gabe, you got it on attendance, right? Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Hey, Ricky, nice to see you. And we'll ask you to rename yourself so that our Eversource folks know you're from Lexington. Same with Ellen, they know you're from Harvard. And great. Actually, there's some people here. I'm not sure where they're from, Kat, so that's good for me. Some new folks.
Hi, welcome. We'll get started in just a minute. If folks could rename themselves with what community they're here from, that's really helpful to us.
Are all three of you presenting or just one of you doing the presentation from the utility side?
We're all three doing different parts of the presentation.
I was just going to harass you and say we require a joke from every speaker just to see if I can get your adrenaline going, which is it's not true, but I thought I could maybe insert some humor in here.
All right. I want to go to a fifth row on my screen. We have 4 rows full. All right, let's go ahead and get started, everyone. So welcome to the March MassEnergize Communities Meeting. We're very pleased to see everyone here tonight. If you haven't already done so, if you could name yourself with your community name, that would be appreciated. Our agenda for this evening is we are going to go through a few announcements from MassEnergize. Then we're really excited to hear from 3 Mass Save program representatives, and I'll introduce them and hear program updates for this 3-year plan and have questions and answers with them. So it should be a really great session. Following that, we'll go to some breakout rooms and talk about how we're going to use this information in our own communities and see what we can come up with. Come back, lessons learned, talk about next meeting, and that'll be our meeting for the evening. Okay, Ellen, do you want to run programs announcements from MassEnergize?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that, Amy. So first, welcome again to everybody. Great to see many familiar faces and lovely to meet some new folks. Couple of announcements for us. You all received an announcement for us to say that Jazz is no longer working with us as our program manager, and we're delighted to announce that Amy Pawaka, who you all know, is going to step in as an interim program manager for MassEnergize. So we feel very lucky that Amy's going to jump in for a bit, and we'll be hiring likely a full-time person starting late spring. You'll get a job announcement, and we'd love your help in identifying someone. So you'll get more emails from Amy than you're used to getting, but we're not going to miss a step with Amy jumping in. I'll do the next one on the legislators. So I was struck by something Megan said, which might have come from you, Hilly, in Medfield, which was when we think about all the work we're doing, and many of us are drafting climate action plans and helping our towns to implement them, that you could view some of what the state's done as giving us an unfunded mandate, right? We have climate goals, and there's a lot of resources going to municipalities. I know, Michael, we talked about this for municipal actions, but when we look at our GHG inventories, the bulk for most of us, our emissions are residential, right? And there are less resources for that. And so we are contemplating doing a briefings for some of our legislators. Senator Barrett has obviously been a longtime supporter, and Jamie Eldridge and Tammy Gavea and Becca Rausch, a bunch of those folks. And I was wondering if we could get a quick sense from folks maybe in the chat, isn't that what we said, Amy? Like what I want to do, what I want to think about is a briefing where you could share with them. This is what Mike Barrett always says to us is like, you guys have boots on the ground. I don't do that. You got to help me learn what's going on out there. So if you could say to a legislator, what is something holding you back from reaching residents or being successful in outreach to residents where the state could maybe address that obstacle? And I'm going to give you more time to
Dave,
think about it.
I'm on a call.
You got to
to
mute.
an
Somebody
hour
mute
and a half,
Steve.
so I can't.
Thank you. I'm curious if people could just put in the chat, if you could say one thing to Mike Barrett about what's making this difficult and engagement with residents or doing your work on the residential side, what would it be? And while you're doing that, I wouldn't mind a thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you like this idea of doing a briefing with the our legislative delegation, or do you not like this idea? Kat says yes. All right. People be willing to participate. We're going to have to orchestrate this a little, but I really want to think about you guys sharing with them what it's like to actually try to do this work. Okay. So if people can start putting in the chat, and we'll send a follow-up email, but I'm just curious about what's the challenge in engaging with residents and where could the state help with that?
Okay. That'll be going in the chat. And now I think we want to give Gabe just 1 minute to give us an update on the social media work he's been doing.
Sure. Thank you, Amy. So I'm Gabe. I'm an intern with MassEnergize this semester. I'm a senior at Brandeis University here in Waltham. And I've been putting together both a playbook manual and an Excel spreadsheet of posts that community organizers, you all could use and access in order to kind of push forward a campaign around greening your electricity. So that would either be rooftop solar, community solar, or changing suppliers. And then another social media campaign around not eating meat. So a Meatless Monday, Going Meatless campaign. So Kat and I are going to be holding kind of get to know Facebook /Nextdoor Zoom that will be recorded on 2 p.m. I believe on Wednesday. And we are hoping to push these out by the end of the week. We're going to start with pushing out the Greening Your Electricity campaign, probably in Wayland on Friday.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
And
think
we'll be
that
updating you on that.
we're going to pilot something in Wayland. We're going to see what we learn. Then we'll be ready to share it with you guys. Maybe a multi-week social media campaign with sample posts and instructions on how to do it and how to track impact. So stay tuned. We're going to practice on ourselves.
Okay. All right, everyone. And now to the heart of the meeting. One last reminder for anyone who joined late, please put your community in your organization in your name. But I am very pleased now to welcome our guest speakers. We are very excited to have 3 speakers. We have Melanie Coen, who's the lead analyst from the Customer Energy Management Group at National Grid. We have Katelyn Mazuera, the Eversource Residential Implementation Program Manager, and Maureen Kiely, the Eversource Program Manager for Small Business. So I know that for many of us, MassSave, we always want more, but I really want to give kudos to the hardworking team at MassSave, and we have been nation leading in energy efficiency programs for what, a decade? And so it really is the hard work of the people that work in these programs. And so I want to give a note of appreciation in that regard. And I know the plans keep evolving. And so we're really excited to hear what new information you guys have for us tonight. So One last thing is there'll be breaks after each speaker. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat to help yourself remember, or you can pause at the end of each speaker will pause and we can have a few Q&A at that point. All right, with that, I believe Melanie is up first.
I just want to make sure everyone can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, Katelyn's up first.
Great. Thank you, Katelyn.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Melanie. Again, my name is Katelyn Mazuera. I am the manager for residential implementation for our energy efficiency programs at Eversource in Massachusetts. I'm joined by Melanie and Maureen today, and we'll give you a brief overview of the MassSave programs that we have. I'm excited to see so many of you this evening. Like Amy said, if you have a question, we'll try to pause during different sections of the presentation, but also you can put it in the chat and we'll try to monitor that and answer your questions as we move forward. So if you go to the next slide, Melanie, just a brief agenda for what we're going to cover today. Who is MassSave? We'll talk about some of the solutions we have, our residential coordinated delivery, income eligible coordinated delivery, retail, financing, and small business programs. So on the next slide, MassSave, I think most of you are familiar with MassSave, but we're made up of the electric and natural gas utilities and energy efficiency service providers in Massachusetts. That includes Berkshire Gas, Cape Light Compact, Eversource, Liberty Utilities, National Grid, and Unitil, with a common goal of helping residents and businesses save energy and money across the Commonwealth. We've got a variety of programs. We just filed our new plan in October of last year. So we've got a lot of new exciting initiatives that we're ready to implement this term. So on the next slide, just some of the plan priorities for our 22 to 24 plan. We're really focused on strategic electrification efforts, ramping up our workforce development efforts so we have enough folks to do this energy efficiency work, from HERS raters to independent installation contractors doing the weatherization, folks on the small business and C&I side. We also have a lot of pieces to support our equity initiative. On the left-hand side, you can kind of see some of the target populations within our equity metrics and our equity efforts. We're really focused on serving renters, English isolated customers, small business, low and moderate income. And we have several new initiatives and new enhancements throughout this plan that we're developing to support those various targeted segments of customers. So getting into the residential programs, as a portfolio of solutions, this slide shows you a good snapshot of the different offerings we have. We have our coordinated delivery efforts, which I'll talk a little bit more in depth about. The retail program, which Melanie will speak a little bit more about. New construction, renovations, and additions. We've got income eligible, financing, and we also have education programs. So this is a good snapshot of kind of the portfolio of offerings under the residential umbrella. So on the next slide, in the next portion of the presentation, I'm going to get into the residential coordinated delivery programs a bit more. This first slide shows the residential coordinated delivery and income eligible coordinated delivery. So our coordinated delivery programs, these are just differentiated by your income, but they're essentially very similar in terms of what we're offering for customers. So customers are offered a no-cost energy assessment or some type of visit to their home, comprehensive site visit. They'll get energy savings measures, water savings measures, instant thermostats, advanced power strips. Our current plan, we had originally planned to phase out lighting, but we will be offering some sort of lighting package in our residential coordinated delivery. So we're working on exactly what that delivery mechanism is going to look like. Both will suggest weatherization and heating equipment recommendations, windows and appliance screening, health and safety checks. In the income eligible program, some repairs will be offered at no cost, but they're similar in the offers that we have. So this just kind of shows a side-by-side comparison, but I'll talk a little bit more in depth as we move forward. Next slide. So residential coordinated delivery. It all starts with a no-cost home energy assessment. So we offer assessments either in person or done virtually. That's something that we stood up in mid-2020 in the pandemic. So that's a new offering that we have. Again, an energy specialist will come to your home or walk through your home with you virtually, look for identify opportunities for instant savings measures, identify opportunities for weatherization, for heating equipment upgrades, for heat pumps. New this year, and I think Melanie may talk about this in her section, but we've got a new window rebate this year, so energy specialists will look for that. Health and safety checks, and we'll provide you a report with all of your recommendations and your next steps. Slide. At the end of your home energy assessment, yes, just what I said, combine the two. You'll get all of your recommendations for any air sealing, heating equipment, appliance, all outlined on that report for you, as well as what available incentives you might be eligible for and what you can finance. So the current incentives for weatherization, some of this is new with this current term. So for all customers, air sealing is offered at no cost if you have recommended air sealing work. And then we have sort of two tiers of an insulation incentive, 100% or 75%. So the 100% insulation offer is available for all rental units or all units in a 2 to 4 family building if all of the units are moving forward at the same time. So essentially you can see here how we're really trying to encourage landlords, property owners, trying to make a rich incentive for renter customers to be able to take advantage of our insulation offers. Also moderate income households. So we're defining moderate income as 61 to 80% of state median income. You do have to have an income screening to be eligible, but if you're eligible for moderate income, we have enhanced weatherization at 100%, as well as some enhanced heating equipment incentives that I'll get into a little bit later as well. Otherwise, we have 75% off your installation, which is still a really robust incentive. So this would be for market rate customers or owner-occupied units in a 2 to 4 building if acting without participation from the other. So we're trying to encourage the whole building to move forward. So if the whole building moves forward at once, we'll give you the 100% offer. If it's a unit that's acting independently, it's eligible for the 75% offer. I think Melanie will talk a little bit more about this, but new this year as well is a bonus, a heat pump plus weatherization bonus. So for customers that weatherize their home, that also apply for a partial displacement heat pump rebate. We have a bonus for doing the two of that together. And then just a reminder, our weatherization pricing is set. Customers don't have to shop around with various contractors. We've got set pricing and a network of installers that can do the work. Next slide. We also have incentives for pre-weatherization barriers. So if a customer encounters a pre-weatherization barrier in their home that needs to be remediated before they can move forward, we do have some incentives for that. We have a barrier mitigation evaluation for $250. Essentially, like we'll provide an incentive if you want to get your knob and tube evaluated to see if it's live or not. So there are certain evaluation incentives that we offer. And then we also have a new moderate income barrier mitigation incentive up to $7,000. So if a customer who is identified as moderate income, and again, they have to be screened as eligible, a screening that we will provide, they're eligible for up to $7,000 to remediate. For a market rate customer, we do allow some of this remediation work to be financed through our heat loan, which we'll talk about a little bit later on as well. So moderate income incentives, and some of this, you know, it's kind of woven in through my presentation and Melanie's as well. So we'll hit on some of these things multiple times, but I just wanted to give a snapshot of what's available for the moderate income customer. So income verification, it is a necessary piece of the process, and we're working on streamlining that, but we do offer that as no cost to the customer. For weatherization, they're eligible for 100% incentive. Pre-weatherization, I just kind of went over some of that. We have up to $7,000. And then soon to be available later on this year, there are some enhanced heating equipment incentives for moderate income customers as well. So above and beyond what our standard rebates will be, those that are eligible for moderate income can take advantage of some higher incentives. And I know Melanie does have a slide with some of our standard incentives later on in this deck. And I just saw a pop-up. Moderate income is 61 to 80 of our state median income. So income eligible coordinated delivery, and there's another slide here too. I think it might be the next one. Oh, maybe not. That will show the income levels, and that's also on the MassSave website if you're curious to see. Yeah, there. Thank you, Melanie. So if you can you advance one? Yeah. So this, it's not, if you go to massave.com/qualify, you can learn about the various incentives, the various income qualification incentives that we have. So it shows the number of household members and then the income eligible program and enhanced residential. So income eligible is 60 and below. Moderate income is 61 to 80, and that's the enhanced program. So you can kind of see, customers can kind of see if they ballpark if they think they're going to qualify. So Melanie, if you wouldn't mind just going back one. So our income eligible program is delivered through a network of community action agencies across the state. All of the incentives are offered to customers at no cost through this network of community action agencies. Mind advancing to, I'll just skip over the income slide. Thank you. And again, massave.com/qualify, you'll be able to see that income table. So income eligible incentives, 100% off the cost of energy efficiency upgrades, funded by the PAs, delivered through the community action agencies. Customers can receive recommended insulation and air sealing, HVAC replacements, including heat pumps, efficient appliance replacements, and some minor repairs and pre-weatherization barriers will be mitigated in order to do that installation of weatherization work. Some of the pre-weatherization barriers that we offer in the income eligible program: knob and tube, asbestos, moisture, roofing, vermiculite, and some other miscellaneous repairs. So it's really pretty turnkey for customers in the income eligible program. The CAP agencies will take care of everything from the original assessment, the weatherization work, the heating equipment. Everything is delivered through this quarterbacking model we have established with our CAP agencies. So I guess I will pause there. I was covering our coordinated delivery services. I know I touched on some of the moderate income incentives and basically our home visit to weatherization services. So I'll pause there, see if anybody has any questions before we move forward to the residential retail portion. And I can scroll through these.
I think one consistent question, or I saw it several times, Katelyn, is how the weatherization needs are determined. Is there a blower door test involved, et cetera?
So our energy specialists will do the evaluation. We do not do a blower door during the assessment, but the installation contractors will do a blower door as part of their installation.
I see Ellen has her hand up.
Yeah, so if you kind of took a step back a little, Katelyn, and say, like, what's really new? It feels to me like the barrier, like fixing pre-existing conditions, like there's a lot new for moderate income that used to be sort of income eligible and market rate. There's a whole new slice that feels a little new to me. And it feels like there's a bunch of money to fix stuff that was preventing people from moving ahead. Those feel like substantially new things. And then I also would just like to get clarification on the rebates for hybrid systems if you're going from gas, but you end up with kind of a hybrid gas heat pump. But did I get those first two things right? Like this is, you know, am I correct in my characterization?
Yeah, I would say some of the new pieces, definitely for moderate income. So in the previous plan, 2019 to 2021, we did offer a 100% weatherization incentive for moderate income customers. So what's new for those folks would be the enhanced heating equipment incentive. We didn't previously have any higher incentive amounts for moderate income for heating. We also have the pre-weatherization barrier mitigation grant up to $7,000. That's also new for moderate income customers as well. And then maybe I'll hold on the second part of your question because that might be answered through Melanie's presentation about retail.
I think Lynn.
I had just a quick question. I wanted to know, what did you consider small business? What does that mean?
I'm going to defer to Maureen.
Okay.
So we will cover that on a slide, but basically it goes by usage, and it's up to 40,000 therms of usage or 1.5 million annual usage kWh. So that will be covered on the slide. But we also include nonprofits and houses of worship, sort of regardless of what their usage looks like.
See Ricky and then Susan.
So I'm wondering if there's anything, if you go through all these details, that encourages electrification and dissuades people from just fixing their gas boilers and insulating, but that really leans them towards the electrification or points them in that direction. They have to go there eventually. Why not put them over? And was any consideration given to doing that in these new incentives?
That's definitely something that we're gonna cover in the next couple slides. So stay tuned. I think Susan.
Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, great. I see that 100 for low income, for income eligible people, it said 100% of heat pumps would be covered. Are there?
No,
No.
It's
Okay.
100% of weatherization costs.
Okay, but for low income families, they're eligible.
Oh, I'm sorry, for income eligible. Yes, it is 100%.
Right. So does that require that they go to 100% use of heat pumps as opposed to systems that still have their furnaces in place? Or what are the requirements for them to do it? Does it matter whether they're switching from predominantly oil or gas?
Katelyn, do you want me to? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, if you can, Melanie.
Sure. So customers do not have to fully displace their pre-existing heating fuel or heating system in the income eligible program or in any of our programs, really. It's based on like the characteristics of that particular home. And every one of our income eligible customers will receive an audit before any energy efficiency upgrades are made in their home. So it really is based on the characteristics of their home, whether or not it makes more sense for the customer to displace, which is a partial displacement of the central heating system, or fully displace. And we're really focused in the income eligible program on switching customers off of oil, propane, and electric resistance as opposed to gas. Right now, at least, it economically doesn't make sense for customers who are income eligible to switch off of gas to heat pumps. They may end up paying more on their heating bills, and we're really trying to alleviate, the energy burden. And so we're really focused instead on oil, propane, and electric resistance.
And before they get a heat pump, do they have to go through with the weatherization program? Is that
Yes.
part of the requirement? Thanks.
Yeah. All right, I'll take one more question from Cheryl. Hilly, if you could just hold your question, then we'll hear some more.
I just wanted to ask if you could clarify, you mentioned houses of worship. What category do houses of worship fall into? And are there any incentives for houses of worship to particularly with HVAC?
So we treat houses of worship like we do all small businesses. So any rebates or incentives that would be available to a small business would be the same incentives that would be available to our houses of worship.
Great. Let's continue.
Okay. So everyone, again, I'm Melanie Coen from National Grid, and I'm going to be talking about our residential retail programs, including heat pumps. I'm going to try to move forward on this slide. Here we go. So just quickly, there are a few different ways customers can participate in our residential retail program, which includes Energy Star products and HVAC, heating system upgrades and water heating upgrades. So, you know, the one that people are probably more familiar with is our downstream rebate application. This is when you purchase something or something is installed in your home, and after that you apply for the rebate and receive the rebate after the installation or the purchase. We also have an online marketplace, which I put the link to here, where customers can purchase things like smart thermostats or dehumidifiers, and that rebate or that incentive will instantly be deducted from the purchase price during checkout. And then we have something we call instant rebates. And this is when a customer can basically fill out a short, you know, questionnaire, very short, and, you know, just to verify that they are a customer of one of the sponsors of Mass Save, and can receive a QR code. So, you know, if you go to the store and you want to purchase a dehumidifier, window air conditioner, or smart thermostat, you can have that QR code, and at checkout, it can be scanned, and then the rebate will instantly be, the amount will be deducted from your purchase. So here we go. So here are our heat pump rebate amounts. And there are some differences from the last 3-year plan. The first difference is now we are offering rebates for customers to convert from gas to heat pump. So gas to heat pump conversions. That's not something that we were able to do in our last 3-year term. We offer rebates for air source heat pump, air to water heat pumps, and ground source heat pumps. For air source heat pumps, we have a partial home, which is a partial displacement, and that is $12.50 per ton. And then we have a whole home displacement rebate, which is $10,000 per home. And then for our air to water heat pump rebate, this is a whole home rebate. There is no partial option, and that is also $10,000 per home. And then we have ground source heat pumps. And again, that is a whole home conversion, and that's $15,000 per home. And here are the efficiency requirements. We have a whole qualified products list that's on our website. And then for ground source heat pumps, it's the Energy Star list. And here at the bottom, I put a link to just where all of our rebates, our residential retail rebates live. So you can get a better idea, you know, you can go explore. So something that, you know, we didn't initially propose in our plan, but that the Department of Public Utilities, our regulator, has ordered us to do is require weatherization for many of our heat pump installations. So for our we've decided that our whole home heat pump rebate, which is $10,000 per home for air source and air to water, $15,000 for ground source, that customers must weatherize their home before they install a heat pump to be eligible for that $10,000. The reason behind this is, one, you know, it's going to be more comfortable for the customer to have a weatherized home, and then also when it's being sized by the contractor, if the home has been weatherized previously or prior to the installation, the system is going to be sized more appropriately for that home. So in order to qualify for a whole home rebate, you must, or a customer must either get a virtual or on-site home energy assessment to even assess if they have weatherization opportunity. If they don't, if their home is already, you know, tight and it's been weatherized in the past, or then the customer obviously has nothing to install. They can move forward with that heat pump installation and get that $10,000. And then again, you have to, if you have weatherization, you know, recommendations, you'll have to move forward and install them, and then move forward with your heat pump installation. Okay, so I know this is getting a little technical, but I just wanted to explain a little bit about our partial home rebate. So when you partially displace, you're keeping your existing heating system and your heat pump system and your boiler, your furnace, or your electric resistance heat will be working with each other. And so we have something that we call integrated controls that must be installed. And these controls allow the heat pump system and your central heating system to work with each other. For central heat pumps, it can simply be a smart thermostat. For the mini split heat pumps, it gets a little more complicated, and there are proprietary or different manufacturers have made different controls. There are some universal controls. And I wanted to put here the switchover temperatures, just because I think this is important, just for people to be aware of, when they're talking to contractors who are in the home installing heat pumps, just to be sure that, you're just aware that in order for the heat pump system to be optimized and perform at its optimal level, most efficient level, there are certain switchover temperatures that the integrated control should be set at. So I just wanted to put that here, just so people are aware and they can talk to the community members or your contractor if you need be. And we also have some user guides that go over all of these things as well, but thought it would be important to put here. So also for partial home heat pumps, to encourage customers to weatherize prior to installing their heat pump, we are not requiring weatherization, but strongly encouraging it. And also soon we'll be offering a $500 bonus to customers who choose to complete weatherization prior to installing a heat pump. So, the bonus form will be provided directly to customers once the weatherization is complete. It's not going to live anywhere on the website. We don't want to confuse customers and have them apply for something that they're not eligible for. And then I know these are not heat pumps, but we do still offer rebates for our fossil fuel systems. We have 2 levels of rebates. This is another thing that we were ordered to do by the department. We were originally only going to offer rebates to customers who are upgrading their non-condensing furnace or boiler to a condensing furnace or boiler. There's more savings. But we were ordered to offer rebates for any upgrade. So now we have like a standard amount and an enhanced amount. So customers, in order to get the enhanced amount, will have to get a home energy assessment. They have to be verified that their existing equipment needs to be verified. And down here at the bottom of the slide, there's a link to more information about how to be verified. And also just want to note that these 2022 rebate amounts or rebate forms are not yet posted to our website. They will be by March 25th. So what's there right now are rebates for 2021, which we will honor until we post the new ones. And then again, here I just want to list some of our water heaters. So the natural gas, propane, and oil water heaters, those are all still downstream, which is the customer facing rebate. We have moved heat pump water heaters midstream, meaning that the incentive it goes through the distributor, but ultimately we are requiring that $750 to be passed through to the customer in the form of a discount on their invoice. So you should make sure you see a $750 discount on your invoice. One of the reasons that we do this is to really encourage the stocking of these high efficiency heat pump water heaters. So and upselling from when the contractor goes into the distributor to purchase equipment. I'm back to some heat pump things, although this really does apply to all heating system upgrades. So things that we have recently launched on our website is a residential heating comparison calculator. It was launched about 2 weeks ago, and it's designed to give an estimated annual cost of cost and carbon emission reductions from investing in a new heating and cooling system. So you put in the characteristics of your home, you know, what you heat with, what you cool with, and it will in a table will show you, you know, the options for your home, you know, how much, you know, energy you're going to save, carbon emissions, and heating costs and cooling costs, energy costs. And then we're also offering something called heating and cooling consultations, which is designed to provide customers with an opportunity to speak to a non-biased expert about their heating and cooling and water heating, you know, opportunities for their home. I think maybe sometimes, you know, the contractors are in the home, they're trying to sell something, and, you know, it's nice to have someone who is unbiased and can really provide some guidance. So we're really excited about that. That is up and running. You can access it on the website. And then we've done a bit of a website refresh there's going to be more refresh coming in the next month or two, but for heat pumps specifically, trying to provide more clear and concise information on the benefits and considerations of heat pump installations and operations. We have some brochures, including like user tips, you know, what to questions to ask your contractor, and stuff like that. And you can find all of these things at masssave.com/heat pump. And then quickly, we do have other, you know, Energy Star product rebates or just product rebates. We've got rebates that we've had for a while, you know, smart thermostats, clothes dryers, room air cleaners. Won't go through them all. And then we have our appliance recycling program, which is 75, you know, you will receive money to recycle an old but working fridge or freezer, and also a dehumidifier. And then our new product rebates that are new for this term are electric lawn equipment, like leaf blowers, chainsaws, trimmers, lawnmowers. And then we now have a rebate for windows if you're upgrading from a single pane to an Energy Star triple pane window. And I know that Katelyn mentioned this earlier, we do need to verify the existing window type, so a home energy assessment is required. Okay, before I move on to financing, that was a lot. I just want to stop here and ask if there are questions, and by the number of comments in the chat, I am assuming there are.
I wanted to throw it back to Hilly if you wanted to ask your question, because you didn't get to ask it last time.
I put it in the chat and Ellen commented on it. It's relating to, you know, obviously we're interested in going to 100% electrification of heating and cooling, and in our climate, you know, you keep hearing that right now it's not cost effective. So my question is, why don't the utilities step in and say in the deep winter months, there's a special rate for heat pump, 100% heat pump users, to make it affordable to more people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good idea. It's something that has been discussed, but it's out of, you know, the purview of the people who you have on the phone right now. That's a larger question for the bigger utility, unfortunately. So understood and point taken.
Yes, it was actually suggested also as one of those legislative talking points that were invited earlier.
Thanks. I will say they're just Marcia's colleague and Greet Newton, who went to a full heat pump, called Eversource and said, I want to be on the all heating rate, a rate that was developed for resistance heated homes to actually prevent this energy burden, and was switched to a different rate. So maybe you could just call Eversource and make this happen. I don't know, we have some Eversource people on the phone, but apparently that's been happening. Yes, Steve is saying yes.
Yeah, you can just call Eversource. It's obscured on the website. Eversource should really make it easier to find it, but you just call Eversource and ask to be on the A4 rate, and it's easy to make the switch. And it saves about 11% on the delivery charges right now.
Thank you.
Francie.
Yes, hi. We have an understanding, living in Boxborough, that only gas users can apply to Mass Save for audits and other kinds of things. One, is that true? Is it because we're a muni, or why? Because most of the town is supplied by National Grid for their heating and cooling.
For gas?
Only
Do
a
you
small.
have I'm sorry. Do you have, so the way that it works is, in order to be eligible for a Mass Save incentive, you have to be a customer of one of the participating sponsors. So if you do have like a municipal electric company, you are not eligible to receive any of our electric rebates, because you're not paying. So every customer pays a small amount on every bill into the energy efficiency fund. So it's really funded by ratepayers.
I
So
see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why.
Thank you. That's helpful.
But a lot of the munis have programs as well. So I do recommend, looking into those. We have been in contact with a few who are interested in, learning more about our programs to try to emulate them. So.
Great. Dorothea, and then Leora.
Hi, everyone. I have a question here for the Eversource lady, and I'm just seeing that my computer is running out, so I'm hoping I can pass this by. So question number one, why did utilities basically drop the door blower test? Was this because of cost, or a lack of data that would basically quantify the benefits in terms of emission and cost savings long term? That's number one. And the other question I had is in regards to the data that Eversource came up with last, I want to say in 2020-21 on the home energy assessments that's been done per community. And I would like to hear if there is any way all of us here in the Mass Energy community can quantify or average, get an average on the emissions saved. I'm saying average because we have a lot of house types. Average numbers on emissions saved through an audit.
Dorothea, let me just pause, because I do know we're doing time, but the averages, we can get back to you on that. The Mass Save program does make those available, but Melanie, if you could answer about the blower door test, please.
I'm going to defer that to Katelyn.
Okay.
Sorry, Katelyn.
Katelyn, you're muted.
Sorry, I have two mute buttons on my phone and on my computer. Apologies for that. So I just wanted to clarify, because I saw a few comments about this too, that these rebates and incentives that we're offering, or that we're talking about today, are offered statewide to those customers that participate in the program. So it's not just a National Grid, or it's not just an Eversource. They're statewide for all of the PAs supporting Mass Save. In terms of the blower door, I'm going to try to dig into that a little bit more. Like I said earlier, we do offer a blower door at the install. So contractors are doing a blower door. I believe it's a test in and out, but I'm just trying to get confirmation on that. So while it's not done at the audit, and I think that's true for Eversource, I don't believe any of the PAs are doing it at the audit, but they are happening. The blower door test is happening at install.
Great. And Leora, I'm sorry, Haley, I'm gonna stop you there. I mean, Dorothea, sorry.
Just a quick question, Amy, because I just lost power when you answered the question on the quantitative data. average data that we can use reliably as the kilowatt hours and emissions saved by an average audit?
Yep, I can get back to you on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Leora, and then we're running a little behind, so.
Amy, I think it's okay to shorten the breakouts a little and take some of these questions.
Yeah, okay.
I had some questions about some home situations that might be falling between the gaps with the whole home and partial home heat pump incentives. So first question was for weatherization that has to happen before whole home, or as you said, the bonus for partial home. Does that have to happen right now, or are you pulling data from the last 2 years? Right? If it's been more than 2 years, might as well get another assessment. But is that logistically set up for people who have got an assessment recently to go straight to the heat pumps, or do they have to get another one that they wouldn't technically be eligible for?
So, right. So if it goes too far back, we're not going to be looking like too far back at data. It's too administratively burdensome. But I do see what you're saying. What we're going to be requiring customers to submit with their whole home rebate application is a certificate of completion, which is what everyone who installs weatherization receives like after it's been done. If there is, if they did get a home energy assessment and there weren't weatherization recommendations or opportunities, it will be stated in their recommendations that they receive in that report that Katelyn spoke about, and that can be used to, I don't want to say waive because it's not really waiving it, but it's proof.
Okay, and the certificate of completion is the energy assessment, the installation?
No, that's after the weatherization was installed. So, I think a lot of the time customers, if we go too far back, customers aren't going to, know where that is or even know what it is. So that's why we're going to recommend, they have another home energy assessment where, luckily we can do them virtually, it's a little less intrusive.
And then if there are barriers, to what extent do the recommendations have to be followed up if they have?
Yeah. We're kind of still discussing that, whether or not, we're going to require the customer to remediate the barriers to install the weatherization, to get that, that $10,000. So it's still being worked out, that part of it. And I think there
are a lot of different scenarios that the PAs are thinking through and trying to make it as streamlined for the customers, with the spirit of trying to encourage customers to both weatherize and do the heat pumps. But we know there are a lot of scenarios that we're thinking through. So we have past data that we can leverage. We have documents that customers have that we can leverage, and we're still kind of ongoing figuring out all of these different pieces of how we work together. We don't want to make it overly burdensome for customers, but we do want to encourage both weatherization and heat pumps.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing as you come up with those situations. One more for now. For the partial home incentives, in cases that it might not make sense to have integrated controls, right? Just adding to a specific room, like mini split kind of additions to a specific room or to an addition to a house. Cases like that, what sort of proof are you looking for? Is that still acceptable?
No, the customer needs to install an integrated control to be able to get that $1,250 per ton, because we need to know that the customer is displacing, a central heating system. I won't, no, you know what, I'm going to stop because I know we're running. I could talk about this forever, but so I'm going to stop myself.
All right.
To the facts.
Thank you. Steve, let's go to you next.
Yeah, there's some gray areas in the application of these things that I first of all, I should preface this. I coach individual homeowners on converting to heat pumps and adopting heat pumps. And so I spend a fair amount of time explaining the mass save incentives to them as best I understand them. But there there are a lot of gray areas. To give an example, there are some homes that have 20-year-old heat pumps, 20, 30-year-old heat pumps that are, not cold climate heat pumps. And so they revert to electric resistance for a lot of the time. And it's not clear from what's posted on the website, whether those, if they upgrade to a cold climate heat pump, are there rebates for that? And so there are these gray areas that are difficult to advise people on. Other cases where the fossil system is also heating the hot water, and in that case, can they qualify for the whole home rebate while retaining the, let's say an indirect fired hot water, oil-fired hot water, or propane-fired hot water, or do they have to get off the fossil fuel for the hot water as well as for space heating? So I'll just stop there. And, I imagine, it would be helpful if a lot more of these situations were spelled out, and over time you'll develop guidelines. If those were published on the website, would be helpful.
I just want to actually ask the folks on the call, just, you're hearing a lot of questions, and I think there'll be lots more. So I'm wondering, is there a way to have a process with you guys where we can be submitting? These are real live, like Melanie, I'm just looking at you because I can see you thinking, like that Steve's running into, to just say, these are not clear from what you've said, so greater clarity would be helpful, and we could just feed you real live examples that we're experiencing in our communities. How would we do that?
I mean, you can feel free to send an email. I'm not, I don't want to promise that I'm going to reply to every single email. That's, we get a lot of inquiries, and, I would be interested to hear some of the scenarios that are causing confusion out in the market. So, because we do want to make this, as seamless and as for our customers as we can. We want to be successful. We want them to be happy and comfortable, with any decision that they make. So I'm happy to hear, get the feedback. I just, can't promise a response to everything. So
I think maybe if we can find a way to gather some of these real live examples, feed them to you, and then at least you'll understand where the confusion is in the field.
Exactly.
We don't respond to each one, but at least you can understand what the confusion is, and hopefully that can lead to some greater clarity on your website.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's a great idea. Ricky, I'm going to go to you next, and then Hilly.
So I'd put my question in the chat, and I'll just reiterate it. So, we've been pushing heat pumps for a while now, and there are times where people installed some, not for their whole house. They still had their backup heat for rooms maybe they don't use very much, etc. Where does that kind of person fit in? And this may be that, is there a gray area, or are you just a partial heat pump, even though you get to full, where are people who are starting from partial heat pump and then want to go to full heat pump? Where do they fit in? I guess that's the question.
If the customer wants to get the $10,000 for heat pump installation, they have to, they can move in. If they already have some heat pumps installed, they can, and they haven't applied in the past for a rebate, to MassSave for a heat pump, they can sign. We have we're calling a self-attestation, where you sign a piece of paper saying you're either going to remove your central heating system, or you're going to only use your central heating system in emergency situations. That customer, as far as I, when I'm, thinking right now on the spot, they would be eligible.
But every customer who would have done this would have most likely gotten some MassSave. You've been giving rebates for heat pumps for a while. It was very small compared to the cost of the heat pump.
Yeah. Sorry. So I should specify our previous heat pump rebates. We had 2 tiers of them. We had our standard, which is $250 a ton, which we do not have anymore. And that was for cooling only heat pumps. Really, we were, I don't want to get too much into it. Like we were only counting the cooling savings in those situations. So, as far as we know, those customers aren't, displacing heat. So I see this as different, but if they have in the past applied for, at one of our enhanced incentives where they are, displacing or replacing their heating system, then, it may get flagged in the system and we might have to look at it more closely. So like Katelyn was saying, there's going to be a lot of situations, that we're going to come across that we're going to have to deal with. This is new, this is a newer program for us. We're still trying to work through, the kinks and actually even get it stood up. So please be patient with us while we figure it all out.
Thank you.
Kelly?
Yeah, hi. I'm working with a lot of seniors and I get a lot of pushback from them, partially because, what's the point of investing in my home right now? I really don't even have the money to buy a new car kind of thing. So looking at your income table, could I have some more guidance as to what falls under income for seniors and whether there's any other assessment, financial assessment they need to go through, and hardship if somebody in their family is in some sort of care situation or, needs extra services?
For the income qualification, it's based on household members and household income. But I do believe, like for Eversource, I'm speaking only for Eversource, I'm sure National Grid has something, there are other hardship rates. I don't know exactly what qualifies for a customer to be eligible, but I know those are available as well. For the income eligible rate, it's based on household income, and folks have to be screened through the CAP agency for fuel assistance. But I know there are other, just kind of outside of energy efficiency, there are other rates available for folks with hardships. And unfortunately, I'm not an expert on that, so I don't have the information. I know that that's available.
Do you have somebody I could get in touch with, because I'm presenting to them in a couple of weeks and I would love to have them be wowed by your by your program. I can see if I can find some more information or a contact with more information. Thank you so much.
All right, last question, Barbara, for this section. Then we'll hear from Maureen.
Okay, I'm just a little confused because we're talking so much about income-based incentives. And so for the 15,000 geothermal rebate, that's for anyone? Is that right? Who weatherizes and then puts in geothermal?
Yes.
No matter what the income. Is that correct?
There are separate, and I'm sorry I don't have it on the slide or these slides. I thought I did. There are separate enhanced incentives for moderate income customers. There is an enhanced ground source heat pump incentive. I feel like I thought I did put it on here. Let me just quickly look. No.
There's a previous slide that has the moderate income incentives. I think it's up to 16,000. It was in the portion that I reviewed.
Yeah, that's for so that's for standard income is the 15,000. It's higher for moderate income customers. I can't remember what it is exactly off the top of my head.
So the 15,000 is basically the minimum for anyone with any income. Is that correct?
That's correct, as long as they're a customer of one of the participating sponsors.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right. We are on to Maureen and small businesses, including the faith community. Oh, sorry, Melanie, we didn't finish you out. I'm sorry.
This will be really fast, I promise.
Okay.
Okay, so we offer something we call heat loan. It is 0% financing for customers who qualify. It's up to $25,000. No, we buy down the interest, so there's no interest, and the term is up to 7 years. An addition or something that we added to the heat loan for this new term is it's not really a separate heat loan, but it's a additional pool of money for customers who want to install heat pumps. So you know, the $25,000 is really like for the customer throughout all of their energy efficiency journey, right? Like, so for instance, if they had installed a boiler 5 years ago, used the heat loan, let's say they finance it for $10,000, you know, then they had $15,000 left that they could use to finance. But now if you're installing a heat pump heat pump, you have a fresh $25,000 that you can use to finance those, the heat pumps. Also, another addition is that you can use the heat loan to address any pre-electrification barriers, I guess we'll call them, like electrical box upgrades. So we've also made the heat loan for this next 3 years mirror our program offerings. So here's just some of the things that customers can finance, but really it's if there's a rebate for it or an incentive for it, then the customer can finance it. And I put at the bottom here a link to some more information. So that's it. Now we're all just small businesses.
Maureen, you're muted.
Honest to God, it happens every time. Good evening, everyone. I'm Maureen Kiely. I'm the program manager for energy efficiency small business implementation over at Eversource. I will hope to answer any and all concerns or questions you have. Can we go to the next slide, please? So our small business program is a turnkey program, and that's what is one of the parts that makes it so unique. We start by providing a no cost, no obligation on-site energy assessment by one of our vetted vendor partners. They provide a customized proposal with all of the energy efficiency recommendations, and we pay traditionally up to 70% of the cost upgrades. Sometimes there's an occasional bump and an enhanced incentive depending on what we're doing. The qualification to be considered for small businesses for those businesses who consume less than 40,000 therms annually or 1.5 million kWh. Next slide, please. Just so I don't forget, I know they were just talking about the 0% heat loan, and so I don't want to forget this. That 0% heat loan applies to residential, not to the small business program. So I just don't want to confuse people. So some of the upgrades that we're looking at, you know, traditional lighting upgrades, you know, LED technology, refrigeration controls and cooler upgrades, HVAC system upgrades, motor and drive controls, domestic hot water, heating system controls, building envelopes such as pipe insulation, air sealing, weatherization, and you know, things like faucet aerators, and then we also look at custom energy measures. This year, although it's not part of the traditional small business program, we are too encouraging our small business partners to look at electrification. So we do have a significant rebate, $2,500 a ton for a small business electrification, you know, toward the heat pump program. The only difference is the rebate process for the heat pump is separate from a traditional small business program. But, you know, when they come out to do the energy audit and provide the proposal, they can make that a seamless process for them. It doesn't have to be very difficult. So obviously measures and incentives may vary among sponsors. Like I can give you an example. Eversource covers, under our small business program, we cover all of our restaurants. National Grid has their own restaurant program that's above and beyond the small business program. So that's in those kinds of cases, that's where we differ. And then, you know, custom energy efficiency measures are typically site specific. So, you know, you may have, you know, just a very unique situation, and we take those on a case by case basis, look at what the potential is for savings at, through an engineering review process. And then we were able to identify the appropriate incentives for that. Next slide, please. So in order to participate in our program, all you have to do is contact a MassSave sponsor to schedule a no-cost assessment. You can also do that by going onto the MassSave website, putting in selection commercial and putting in your zip code, and that they'll send you over to the correct vendor. As I said, we do have a pool of vetted vendors, and they are assigned to certain communities. Each one of them covers a group of communities. They would then identify potential energy savings measures during their site visit. They would provide a customized proposal, identifying all of the recommendations, and whether you decide to participate in any and all of those recommendations is up to you. And then based on that, we have with the recommended improvements, they will then arrange to install all of that at the convenience of the business. We do understand that a lot of our small businesses are mom and pop operations, and they're already up to their eyeballs with scheduling and so forth. And the last thing you want is a pizza shop owner having somebody standing on a ladder overhead at lunchtime. That's not going to work for them. So we really do work well around that, providing early morning installs, weekend installs, evening installs, things like that. So we really work hard to do that. Again, one of the unique parts of small business for us is that the incentive dollars that are provided come right off the top, and the remaining portion can, with the exception of the heat pump, that's a separate rule, but for the regular measures that we traditionally do, all of those measures can then, the remainder can be financed at 0% for up to a period of 24 months. So that, and typically most of those have less than a 2-year payback. So it works well for our small business customers.
Excellent. Thank you, Maureen. We'll start with Hilly.
Well, thank you so much. And I've talked to a lot of business people who are renting space. Is this program similar to the residential where renters can ask for that as well? Or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so basically the way we deal with it is the ratepayer. So if the renter is the ratepayer, they would be eligible for the program. What we do recommend, however, if they are a renter, that if they're making any changes to the building, to just check with their lease agreements, and if they have to, check with their landlord. And I can tell you, honestly, I've talked to many a landlord in my time with Eversource, and landlords traditionally are all on board, especially when the renter wants to take care of the costs, any costs associated with it. And sometimes what happens is the landlord says, my renter wants to do it, but I understand there's a small cost. I'll pay that cost because it's an improvement to my building. So it's really, everybody's eligible for it. Obviously, the ratepayer is the person that would apply for the program. We would just, in a case like that where there's a renter, we try to work with the renter and the landlord to ensure that there's no issues around the process.
So if the landlord wanted to apply for it, would that be legit as well, or does the ratepayer have to apply?
The ratepayer would apply because that's how it's funded, through the incentive.
Okay.
Sorry, just to clarify on that, sometimes the ratepayer, doesn't want to apply because they don't want to get caught for the cost. But often what will happen is the landlord will say, I'll tell you what, I will cover the difference in the cost if you allow me to do this now, and through the program. So that's how we typically have found it. We don't usually run into a problem with that.
So the ratepayer would also apply for the audit and all this.
Yes, and again, that's no cost, and there's no obligation required. It's a simple. We can do it both virtually and in person, although I do recommend it in person when it's appropriate. But we do provide some virtual assessments if needed.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, I have Dorothea, and then I have a question from the chat I'd like to ask.
Okay, guys, just real quick for the lady from Eversource. If you do have like 50 plus housing, 55-year-old housing, kind of like for the elderly and for people almost retired, if you have, let's say, a development like that, what would be your suggested outreach strategy for maximizing on assessments? Meaning, like, instead of having one renter apply for this, to have maybe the entire group of renters apply, and then have one auditor do that entire development? Or do you have thought through these things before, and can you point me to anything?
Sure. So something like that would probably participate through our multifamily program. The incentives and offerings are similar, but the delivery is a little bit differently because, to your point, we're trying to, maximize our visit at that home. They may do a sampling of audits, a sampling of all the different types of units in that property, and then bring all of the isms and just kind of go through every unit and do the install. So it'd go through our multifamily or high-rise kind of delivery infrastructure that we have. It's a little same offerings for the most part, but the delivery is different because we are trying to target that whole property at once.
Great. Is there a particular person at Eversource that's handling that, or what would you suggest me to line up?
So yeah, if you want to email me with the information, I can get you to the right person who's delivering our multifamily services.
Beautiful. Thanks, Katelyn.
You're welcome.
Question from the chat for all of you on heat pumps. You mentioned the heat pump third-party advisor or consultant. Is that information available on your website currently?
Yeah, the heating and cooling specialist, you can go
Yes.
to masssave.com/heat pump, and on that page, I would go look it up right now and tell you, but I'm sharing my screen and I tried to do that earlier and it stopped. So and you will find a link to where that is, and if you can't find it, reach out and I'll send it directly to you.
And Ellen.
Process-wise, guys, there are a zillion questions in the chat. We can't get to all of them to our utility partners. So I was just suggesting in the chat that we will send you the chat because that is actually a really easy way to start to give you these real live questions. I'm not expecting you to necessarily answer every single one, although it would be great if we could get, because then we would just post it back to everybody and say, here are the questions and here are the answers. So because we couldn't get through all of them. So I'm hoping it's beneficial to you because you'll hear the real questions people have. And I'm hoping we can get some feedback, some additional answers to folks. So I don't know if that's amenable to Eversource and National Grid, Melanie.
Yeah, that's fine. You can send over the questions in the chat or the whole chat. And we'll read through them. If there's some, questions that are asked more than once, obviously, like there is a source of confusion, we'll try to clarify any of those questions. But if it is a certain special situation or like a gray area, it's good to know that these are questions, and we can circle back as program administrators and try to brainstorm. So
great.
And I tried in some instances, I tried to put like the links to certain pages that have more information. Like Melanie said, a lot of this stuff. So we filed the plan, and then we got the DPU order that had a few changes to our original plan. So some of the items we're still trying to work through, which is why all of the web pages aren't updated right now. But we are working as quickly as we can to get the information up there. So Melanie shared, I think, as of the end of March, some more information on the heating rebates will be there. The heat loan is next. We're working on updating all those materials for what's eligible for the heat loan, and more updates to come. So, some of those links, keep an eye on them for updated content. Some of them have the updated information, but some things we're still working on for the 2022 program year.
Great. Just really, this is a quick question, and then I think we'll wrap it up and follow up with you via the chat. Send it over. So just a quick, hopefully, question from the chat. Do houses of worship qualify for Mass Save heat pump incentives for small businesses?
Yes, they do.
Great. All right. Well, we greatly appreciate your time this evening. I think you have provided a lot of information and stimulated some really good discussion amongst our communities. And hopefully we're bringing some learnings back to you where common points of confusion are. And I guess with that, we just can all say thank you to our speakers.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for doing it in the evening. You know, you're talking to a lot of community organizers that are doing a lot of the outreach that you guys want, and this is when we meet. So we appreciate you guys kind of living in our schedule. So thank you very much, Katelyn.
Yeah, just one more comment. You know, we every month there's what's called an energy efficiency advisory committee meeting, which EAC meeting, and this Wednesday is about our heat pump market strategy. So if you're interested in hearing, more, in-depth discussion about, the strategies that we're trying to implement to, transform the market, tune in. It's at 1 o'clock, 1 to 4 on Wednesday. You'll hear more of my voice, unfortunately.
No, that's good. We'll send that out in a meeting follow-up to all of you, a link to that meeting for folks who can make it. All right. Mass Save folks, you're free to go. Other folks, we just have a quick question for you on ideas for next month and a quick announcement from one of our communities. So thanks once again to Katelyn and Melanie, and I'm looking for your face, Maureen, but she's, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks again. I'm gonna hop off and get my kids to bed.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. We had quick announcement from one of our communities that is hosting, Acton Boxborough is hosting an event. Is Karen on?
Karen is on. I see Karen, although she's muted and unvideoed.
There you go. Okay. Actually, both can.
You're still
muted yourself.
There you go. Okay. Karen Root Watkins and myself, Karen Herther. So we're having an event on March 20th, and it's a green energy fair and an induction cooking demonstration. And we're going to be cooking with induction and melting chocolate. And Trader Joe's actually donated like hot chocolate to melt and fruit and graham crackers. And we're having an electric vehicle meetup at the same time. And we'll be sharing some of our green energy programs as well. So it's at Nera Park in Acton, which is north, and everybody's welcome. So I'm kind of putting this out on behalf of Acton, Boxborough, that we'd love to have you stop in. And if the flyer could be put up, that'd be really helpful. And we're doing a donation for the food pantry too. So thank you.
I'll put up a quick image of that. And then we have an announcement from Ricky Papo on Sustainable Middlesex meeting.
Yes, thanks a lot, Amy. On March 26th, we're holding the 2022 Carbon Countdown. And I hope many of you were there last year. So it's a wonderful meeting of activists or people who just want to hear what we're going to talk about. Senator Barrett opens up the meeting. And this year we're calling it Reaching Beyond the Choir. And as Amy will remember, when we did the surveys last year, that was the main thing that the people who answered our survey said was the biggest problem and obstacle for getting things done, which I think is something we all share, which is how do we stop talking to each other all the time and get to talk to the people who also need to get in on this. So we'll be sponsoring 8 to 9 different workshops on successful programs that have been able to reach beyond the choir, get to schools, get to, there's all sorts of things. I will put a link to register in the chat, and then maybe Amy, if you could include it in the follow-up. And I'll send you the poster if you want to send that along to people. Great. Thank you.
Yes, I can do that. And an announcement from Susan from Cooler Communities.
Thanks, Amy. I put my contact information in the chat. At Energy Save, we are participating in the Community First Partnership Program of MassSave for Springfield, West Springfield, and Pittsfield. And we're looking to hire 2 energy advocates, full-time for Springfield's, part-time for Pittsfield, pays decently, wonderful team to work with. We need people who understand community working and also the MassSave program, or one or the other at least. So we're having trouble finding the right people. If anyone has any contacts or ideas for how to reach good folks who might be interested, let me know. Thanks.
You share with Amy, and then we'll put it in the follow-up, a link to a job description or something like that. We'll send that out as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah.
That's a great work. I'm glad everyone's sharing it. That's what this is all about. Okay.
Just say
Ellen?
Yeah, we tried an experiment, which I think is working with Energize Wayland, which we put out here. We were doing an EV showcase that Shelley Truckus, who's on the call from Energize Wayland, is organizing, like cool new models. And 5 of you said you'll co-sponsor, and then we're doing one on gas stove risks and induction cooking, and a bunch of you said you'd co-sponsor. So I think we're trying to not all kill ourselves, right? So like if one of us is doing an event and somebody wants to promote it, you don't have to do that same event. So we'll try to do more of that, and we encourage other people to not only announce it orally here, but to send an email, and then you can send the flyer or send the link from your MassEnergize site, and if you have an event, we can at the admin level copy it to another site for you. So we're happy to do that, and let's try to kind of leverage everyone's work here.
Fantastic. All right, last agenda item for the evening is what ideas folks have for next month's community meeting. If you're remembering, we're trying to alternate kind of an informational meeting like this with something that's more sharing based amongst the communities. We had the thought of potentially talking about coaching and heat pump coaching. And also from last month, there was also interest in hearing about evaluating municipal projects in their sustainability, getting ahead of the curve with municipal projects.
That was what Ellen had proposed from Harvard, right? To share
Yes.
approach and get
Yes.
feedback, right, Ellen?
So do folks still think, let's do them one at a time. Do people want to hear about heat pump coaching and share thoughts on that? Thumbs up, medium, or down? All right, that looks like it's a go. All right, and on municipal, what do you call it, Ellen? It's getting late.
It's getting late that I'm trying to remember what I asked for.
Ellen, it was the form you were creating for new municipal projects.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's more than that's even more than municipal. Yeah, that's on the environmental. Yes, I would love that. So that's the environmental assessment form where we wanted to try to look at projects, even when it comes maybe outside municipal at some point, but focused on municipal, of how to, when a new project comes along or a new policy or procedure, that we can assess what its impact is and whether we can, ask for changes because it's not doing something that's quite what we thought environmentally.
All right, are folks interested in hearing more and or having a discussion group about that next time? Thumbs up, okay, or down? All right, and that looks like it's positively received also. Any other ideas that are burning ideas that people want to get to?
Can I just say, did you guys just feel like we drank from a fire hose for MassSave?
Yes.
And so I actually wonder about some little discussion group on how in the world are we going to simplify these incentives and get clear messaging out? Like, I would love to talk about what do I do now? Is that of interest?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ellen.
Ellen, can I just say, like when I talk to people, I need like, based on that focus group, a set of information that pertains to them. Like when I talk to my church or small businesses or the seniors in a couple of weeks, or, parents, or, I mean, it's just overwhelming.
It's totally overwhelming. I think one thing I think we could maybe do is I asked them for like a 1-page fact sheet, which they said, no, it's all be in the slide. Now that I've heard them, of course, you can't do a 1-page fact sheet, but I think we could have a bunch of common use cases where we could say, this is the customer situation. If we could all even brainstorm 4 or 5 of those and then go back to them and say, give us exactly what the incentives are for this kind of, I don't know. I just want to figure out how to operationalize it. There's a lot more money being thrown at things than was thrown before. There's some stuff that was around that I wasn't even promoting that was around before. So we got to figure out how to take this and make it clear to people.
Yeah, and I see a comment from Marcia. You're muted.
Still muted, Marcia.
Okay, well, she's working on that. Let's go. I'm looking at time, but people are excited. Ellen, Susan?
Sorry, I just unmuted. I just want to say something quick so I had the predicament of signing up for 2 programs tonight, and you're very similar. And the other one was $350, and I had David Green, and most people know David Green, and Mark Dyan from $350 talking about, and they were talking about Mass Save too. The idea is I knew my attention was going to be divided, so I'm going to listen to the recordings. Yours is recorded too, right? Yes. So I'm going to listen to the 2 recordings because I am interested in at some point getting heat pumps in my house. But I'm going to forward the recording from this other program that talks about, Mass Save strategies. So you'll be able to glean some information from that.
Great. Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Ellen?
Can I just ask, ask one quick question? So Mass Save, and I know most of you guys are Eversource, and in Harvard we're National Grid, but it's the same, right? Or would National Grid show this differently than Eversource? It's the same, right?
So the incentive levels for residential programs should be the same. Sometimes they develop separate marketing materials. Sometimes they develop umbrella Mass Save materials. So that gets a little tricky. And you did hear a little bit of a carve out in small business where they're trying different things as different companies. But Susan?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that working with the Community First Partnership Program of Mass Save now, and going to all the EEAC meetings, what I'm very aware of is that even though January, the new 3-year plan rolled out with all these new ideas, so much of the plan is still being figured out as we speak. And it may be that we'll be able to, I think we should, like your suggestion, Ellen, about putting in all the scenarios that we want answers to might help them to formulate some of this stuff. But I also I'm not convinced that anything, the partnership program, which was supposed to start the beginning of January, they're now talking about rolling it out after Earth Day. So things are way behind, and especially around heat pumps, I get the sense that there's just a lot that's not figured out yet. And around the CAP agencies, where they've promised us in service of the issues around equity, they've promised us better service. They still don't know quite how they're going to do that. So we need to be patient, at the same time push them and help them as we can. I just wanted to put that out.
That's a great comment, Susan. Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend people who can attend the EEAC meeting on Wednesday make comments like that so that the EEAC is aware of the delivery issues. They have a additions and renovations program, and I've had clients, that's for residential customers. I've had clients try to understand what they can get from that program. They just get a runaround from Mass Save. So the I get the sense there are a lot of internal issues at Mass Save, and we need to keep pressure on EEAC to
Yeah. When is that meeting, Brett? The EEAC meeting you're referring to?
EAC is a committee of the Department.
Yeah, I know, but when is it on Friday?
On Wednesday, this Wednesday.
This Wednesday
starts
at
1 p.m.
You just go to their website, Dorothea, or we can put it.
Okay, got
Yep.
it.
Cheryl, you have a quick comment?
Well, I have two, but my quick comment is, I think I agree with Ellen that this was like an unbelievable amount of information. And I do think they could have a sheet with, if this is your situation, then go to this page on our website, or if this, they could have simplified it down, but I think they're, as we're hearing, that they're not very well organized. It's a question for this group actually, and I'm sorry, I don't have the names and details, but I'm sure most of you have read about these two ladies, the Mothers for Energy. The one is an engineer and says, why are we relying on the energy companies, the gas company, the other companies to do all this? Why aren't we doing, and they have a system
Cheryl, I think you're referring to, if I can interrupt, sorry, just because of the hour. To the HEAT program, HEET. They've been having a lot of great press lately. Great organization. Maybe at some point we could get them to speak, but they're pretty popular right now. And I wanted to respond to your prior comment. So I think most of you are familiar with working with municipal government and how challenging and slow that can be. It's similar with the utilities. And I'm not saying this in defense of them. It's a realism. I have never seen a program roll out, even in the midst of a 3-year plan, prior to like the beginning of February. That is the fastest speed they can possibly get their gears in motion, even when they're not doing anything really big or different or new. So like, that's a bit of the realities of the way our programs have been set up by the state legislation. That's not in defense of it. It also shows the exact need for people like us, because no one wants to figure all this stuff out. You need a coach to help you get through it. And what we need is a process chart or a flow chart, or, we need these materials that we can provide that are just understandable. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you for listening. Okay.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Thanks to all of you. I'll probably send this out in 2 separate emails, one to get out really quick with a couple of the materials that people have suggested sharing. Just assuming that sometimes it takes a day or 2 to get to slides and export the chat and etc. So thank you for all your participation. And I look forward to seeing you in emails.
Yeah, and Amy,
next month
on the fly, I think it was a good call not to go to breakouts. We had a lot of questions. We had time with them. It was, well, you guys all agreed. We'll do that in the next meeting, but let's, it was good. They spent the time with us. I thought they were pretty forthcoming and honest, and I think they're trying. We gotta keep them. Yeah.
They were.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Who's exporting the chat? Do we know how to do that?
Kat, what's
I
our
just
best?
saved it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if Gabe didn't save it, I'll send it to him.
Yeah, I think that was what the feeling I was having was like,